Everybody, let's get this show on the road. I think you all can see the chart already. Do I really have to say that I told you so again? In fact, we didn't really fully make it all the way to the 487. We just kind of broke down. Sadly, didn't get to close the gap fully yet. We just kind of closed off a partition there, but we're still headed to the downside, which I told you we will likely see as well. Basically, we'll be moving to the upside, testing previous supports and now becoming resistances. Of course, there are multiple forces here. What I think came into play is another force that is posted right below that yellow line. I can't draw to save my own life. Sorry for that. But you get the idea. So, in essence, those who follow the lives, and especially those who followed today's morning live, were kind of not surprised, not caught off guard, right? We were all waiting for exactly all of this. But yeah, let's do what we usually are here to do, is run through all the time frames. Let me just make sure I see the live chat, all that wonderful stuff, so we can run through all that stuff. Discord name. Hello, Brad. Hello, Casey. Hello, the usuals and regulars. I salute you all. A true soldier's salute. You guys all are legends, like real soldiers. Show up for every live. I tremendously appreciate that. More so, you guys are always in the loop, and no surprise that nothing lately have been catching you off guard. You gotta admit, so far, pretty much, very much on point. But we just stop it, stop it, stop it, stop it. Oh, come on, stop it. Just one more. Good afternoon, Leo. Good afternoon. Where were we? We were okay, right? So we were about to tend to the time frames. As we know, the 1 minute doesn't matter much to us, although we have about 35 minutes to close. So all in all, that looks bullish. Sorry, so we can actually assess there is some more movement here, maybe even a short term. Let's say potentially testing something that is hidden right there, just to give it less more of a life. Some like this, for example, can already see there is something akin to that over there, so it could be that thing being tested. Now, no, not that we've ran through that. That's the 1 minute. Okay, done. 5 minutes, although starting to seem rather bearish. I would argue that that's not true. We know this is just a process. The curve is straightening up, basically, but that's not the term. My goddamn stupid brain. But yeah, the flattening of the curve basically will happen right here. We're starting to see that curvature start to take a little bit of a sideways direction. In other words, we're going to see this convergence and divergence process that we're familiar with potentially amplifying, because it is bullish. At the end of the day, it's bullish, giving it a little bit more oomph to it, if you will, potentially allowing it to maybe hit those other highs that are internal, or depending on where we're going to be by then, of course, if we're going to make it all the way to that top or that top, depending. I can see there are various tops here, various resistances that we might stumble upon that are within the context of the 1 and 5 minutes. So all in all, there is some bullish momentum still in the chamber, if you will. Now let's look at 30 minutes. 30 minutes should be the scarier one. This is, for example, exactly that scenario where I say the day traders should be very, very careful. Arnon, very careful, because the overall trend is already starting to curve to the downside. In other words, you're having the steepening of the curve and taking basically a little bit more of that bearish stance, if you will, bringing you, even if it's going to bring you slightly higher, it's potentially going to drag you lower, significantly lower, just to be more precise. So that's not all in all, that is not all that great for day traders, those especially who get confused by the shorter term and will not notice that on the larger time frames they're already slipping over the edge. That's very important to notice. Pardon me for my voice. I just finished about 2 hour, or like an hour and a half long, almost 2 hour long session. with some runarounds, so pardon me for my voice. Market to the moon are non-stop. You're confusing people. People will think you're serious. I think a million, Casey. Why are you being so light? Give it market to 1 million, 1 million, million with a special M. Yeah. So guys, stop it. I'm gonna put both of you in timeout. Christoph, do I have to call Mama into the room to manage both of you children? Oh my God. Good jokes though. Good jokes. Okay, so you see what you do. See what you do. You made me forget what I'm doing here. Why am I here? Why did we adjourn? Okay, so let's continue. 45 minutes. 45 minutes is actually starting to look very bearish. I wouldn't be too excited. As I said, this looks like we're gonna have another turnaround, bringing us closing that gap potentially very easily. In fact, maybe even slipping below that 54.09 in the very relative future. I would say if that's 45 minutes, that's tomorrow. What we're starting to cook right here is tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be not bullish. Tomorrow starts to look very, very bearish as we're running through the time frames. Even if we're going to get some squeeze right there done back to the upside, it is basically starting to appear more of an overarching downside trend right there, right? So we're kind of, that's what we're seeing. Let's go 1 hour to confirm that. Absolutely. There we go. Let's go. My bad. Sorry. Absolutely. We have this. This is quite positive confirmation for what we're expecting. I mean, on the one hand, we are already in overbought territory, but we're starting convergence here. Since we already got to the stage, that starts to overturn that momentum, and where the further the curve will steepen, the more we will become more bearish, bringing us back into here. Here meaning again the leftover of the gap, and maybe potentially to that low that I've mentioned, that 54.09. Mark that number. You see, it's a relatively strong support so far, and so far proven itself to be quite a force. So let's wait, and I'm certain we're going to see 54.09 potentially tomorrow or within a couple of days. Tom, hello, sir. Hello, welcome. Hello, everybody else who I didn't notice. Brad, we're here. Michaels, I didn't see you here. Hello, welcome. Let's continue without me deviating as you guys asked me, so I'm gonna be on focus. Right, so this is a bit bullish. We said kind of where the issue is. The issue is hidden at the 4 hours, and as I said, this is gonna start curving to the upside. So yes, there is still some bullish momentum in the barrel, if you will. It will come through relatively shortly, but if you notice the overall trend and natural direction that we've been seeing so far is to the downside, right? So if we are seeing an outlier that is the 4 hours, and then we're seeing this that is already starting to overturn basically back and forth, that kind of shows us, yes, we still have some momentum, but we, technically speaking, because we know the 4 hours, the daily procedures are kind of longer, we're basically going to be seeing some more oversold momentum is more negative. So in other words, as you're familiar with seeing, well, again, it's not a back and forth, just like I said, especially on the larger time frames. So in other words, this amplifies what we've seen on the other time frame. So 4 hours is more of an outlier, meaning potentially we're going to have some convergence divergence going back in, giving us exactly what we're seeing on the daily. The daily is basically the 4 hourly, but the 4 hourly does not, it's the chart that you have without not including the pre and post market, so it does not include all the variables. There are certain time frames here that I use for very particular reasons to locate very particular types of movements, or more of a confirmation or rejection bias tool for the other time frames. So it's not as straightforward as you may think. The fact that I show them, I don't want to skip for you guys to think that I'm hiding something somewhere. That is that. Still, as we saw and we spoke about the weekly, something that we saw on larger time frames before, basically the trend is taking us to the downside, and I was projecting this throughout last week. I was telling you how these forces will converge, giving us potentially more bearish momentum because the trend is actually to the downside rather than to the upside. We're seeing the steepening of the curve. It's just very, very slow, but we're seeing it coming through the indicator as well. So what matters here, the scariest sort of part, which I was telling you about the entirety of last month, is when this month is gonna signal actual bearishness, which will come through these forces, convergence and divergence. Basically, once you have this red line, which is your D, that represents, actually in reality, that's a moving average of the green line, but for you, you might as well perceive it as bearish momentum. When your bullish momentum, which is your green line, your K, breaks down, it gives way to your bears. Bears are always there, the same way the bulls are. All the price action that we see is the amalgam of both given at any given time. It's just that right now, the bears are taking dominance. And this is a very large time frame. Just to give you an idea, this entire process that we've been on the upside took us, well, 395 days, but that's not including weekends, so you make it about below 300 days, so that is a year and 1/3, so that's quite lengthy. And if you're going to look at these procedures, and more so, I will re-emphasize that what matters here is when we went bullish, so that is this whole procedure. Really what it was is more than 2 years. We can call it 2 and a bit years, because don't forget that's not including weekends, and vice versa. When we switch over, these processes also take quite a long time. As you can see, something very similar, just slightly shorter, 519 days, so call it 2 years easily without the weekends, give or take, close enough, right? So that is a 2-year experience, just to explain, right? And it doesn't mean, and the process of crawling out, when we crawl out, these are very slow, reminding you. These are not uncertain, reminding you. I've been there. You can go to my channel, to my first videos, and see that I've been talking about this since the beginning. I called out this bottom, and back then I said we were going to go up, regardless of Tom Lee or anybody. That was my own thesis. It was backed up by my own technicals. The videos are still there. In fact, I predicted it early on, and it took a while until we got there. And I was suspicious of certain factors here, and I said this is very weird, and gaps and whatnot. And now it all makes sense. Not now, but as we were going, it all makes sense. We will be correcting to the downside, and as I suspect, to 3,300 area as an utter bottom. I'm calling that early on. Call me crazy. I might be wrong. It might be lower, might be slightly on the edge. Basically, what I am calling out, to be really, really, really precise, in the longer term, what I'm calling out is the price action to break slightly below or somewhat below 3,491.58. It might be $1, it might be 2, it might be 10, it might be 100. Right now I'm calling out the 3,300. That is my call out. הנרות זה לשימוש עצמי. Arnold, stop it. I'm gonna put you in timeout. I'm gonna make Tom put you in timeout. Knowing Tommy's gonna cooperate with you somehow now, if he knows what's going on. Shalom, shalomski v'bracha b'simcha im mumin. Stop it, Arnold, guys, don't let me call Mama in here. The links to the Discord, you see, so amazing to have Mama. Mama is such a huge help when it comes to all that stuff. You guys are just arguing and doing nothing. Not contributing at all. Here is the link to the Discord in the chat right now. You'll have the description. Also, let me post to you my Patreon. This is where you join our community. This is how you become a patron, and you can get to hang out with me pretty much on the daily basis, with Arnon and the rest of the gang, talk about the market and pretty much anything and everything in the voice chats. So that is that. By the way, I still have 3 spots in my one-on-one academy, TA Technical Analysis Academy. I teach you one-on-one on our Discord how to do proper technical analysis. I do it right here. Let me brag a little bit for a quick sec. We do the something right here on the one-on-one channel, right? We have the various channels that are for our members. Many channels. The threads channels, of course. We have the stock threads, the Tesla dedicated, Palantir dedicated. I hang out right here in the open forum, right there, throughout the day. You can join us. And of course, we are edging in, well, you can call it 18,000 members. Might as well. We're just a step away. Don't forget when you join to confirm the rules. It's highly important that you do. Otherwise, you'll be stuck in limbo like these people, right? It's just very easy. Press a button and you're good. And of course, if you are a member and you want to move into the member partition, what you need to do is you go to your Patreon right here. If you're not sure, you just click on this title and it will open up a video, a YouTube video for you explaining exactly how to connect your accounts. Although it's simple, all you need is this link. You press on that, make sure you do use the same email, and once everything is connected, you'll simply will be transferred to our members partition. If you see both, that's not how it was intended to be. Let me know, I will fix it. The idea is that you will transfer from public to members. The only way to get my one-on-one academy is by DMing me, direct messaging me on Discord. We'll have a little call. You get to know me, I get to know you, and if everything is fine, we proceed to make a schedule for you. Remind you guys, I have only 3 spots. I had 5. I only have 3. 2 already been taken. And less time, and again, as always, once they're taken, that's it. The academy is locked. Quick shameless plug. And now to the chat, because I think we've covered everything that is important. Let me take a quick sip because I'm parched. And we will continue to the chat. Tom, thank you, March. Thank you very much, brother. You are a true legend, and this channel owes everything in its existence to you, sir. So I am tremendously beyond grateful to you. Of course, for you, we're going to go over Palantir in a couple of minutes. Just give me a sec to run through the chats. Before we continue, we're going to run through our regular suspects from Nvidia to Palantir to we can take a look at SoFi, Tesla, Apple, of course, all the suspects that are on the wall. What am I missing? I'm not missing anything. The Patreon is only $10 a month, by the way. It will be more expensive down the line, so it's limited in spaces, so don't miss out on that one. It's the cheapest price and the cheapest way to become a member in our community. There's no cheaper way. Should cover what big guys intuition are doing. My 1 cent is that they can do something that will break the prediction. I'm not sure what you're talking about there, but okay, Misery, got me a little bit confused. For not being kosher? Then you've done something, Misery, you've done something. If Discord truly, I don't know if Discord, but on our server, if you got a ban, you've done something very bad. Usually there are various stages that we take, unless you do something very bad. So that is for you to do. To reach out to me, DM me, and we will try to figure out what you've done and how can we sort it out. Full membership, right? If you sign up to Greg, Patreon, full membership rights as if you join mine. So it's crazy value. Tom is 1000%, guys. Tom just wrote to you the true secret entrance to that is very super cheap into both of our communities. And I remind you that soon, once it's filled, we're gonna have a more expensive tier, and then again we're gonna have the phenomena of I wanted, I plan to. Guys and girls, don't miss out. Those guys right now investing. Which teacher's pet. Come on, Brad. Let's stop that. What do you expect the next 2 weeks? Bullish or bearish? Good question there, Michael. It's actually nice, decently put question. More bearish. It seems like in general, if we're gonna look at the 2 week time frame, right? in terms of particularly at that time frame, I'm far more prone to think that we're going to have a continuation of this downwards momentum that is going to spill over from the smaller time frames that we already observed, including the daily being amplified. So yeah, I do expect a bit of a downturn for the following 2 weeks, more down than up, subsequently bringing the price action lower. As we said, we're talking about the 54.09 area. That's kind of the range. Ignore the mouse because I'm trying to point this out, or trying to point this out, and maybe potentially even lower, 53.76 range to 53.44. We spoke about this in the earlier live. That's a gap that we need to fill from before. Here it is. So we need to fill this area, and there's a high probability from this and the other time frames that we're going to actually fill that in, giving us very bearish momentum. That is that. Nvidia to $100. Yes, Tom, we are going to go over Nvidia in a sec. Okay, yeah. Guys, time to go to Nvidia. I've mentioned this before. I've mentioned this actually originally when I've mentioned this was probably slightly before the Nvidia earnings, but I've mainly spoke about this in the Nvidia earnings call and another video afterwards. I've explained how I forecast it was, of course, any of this happened. It was when we were still on the highs, and I was saying how we're going to retrace back to that 110, and that will end up for being our support, right? So we had this beautiful thing. We ended up residing on the 110, right? I said the S2 will be the $100, which you can see since we broken down, got to test that 110, which I'm confident we have not finished testing yet, right? I think we will continue testing it more, meaning we will see the price action hitting. You see, we can argue that here, what we hit off of, right, if we're going to put a straight line right where that point is, we're going to end up, the lowest point is 195. So I was off. So for this point to be 95 cents, would you argue that would be anything else that stopped this price action? I would say certainly there could be a probability of an intraday support here, but it came through because of the knowledge of that psychological and inherently already amplified 100, which is technically 1000. So also not all that surprising. People don't want to see the price action actually break towards that area. So to save it, a lot of money started pushing back up. I'm not going to be surprised if we're going to retest the 110, but eventually we will end up testing the 100 properly. Just like I said, our S2, our support number 2, and eventually post testing it and confirming and breaking below it, we will go to that very next support, or maybe actually fully into the golden pocket, which is actually resides at the bottom of 87.04. Let me just do this for you guys so you can see the numbers better, right? So you can see the numbers better. So that 87.04, right, and 91.68, that's going to be that range that we are suspicious of being very important, basically allowing the price action to break that to that S3 support 3 that I said. But then once it does break into that area, of course it's going to be testing that previous resistance, which was the 100, before it actually continues further down, if the market will confirm that. Right, so that's that. Where were we? We've covered Nvidia. I think this is good. We've done Nvidia. What do we think about Nvidia? Nvidia has squeezed out all that bullish momentum. First of all, Nvidia is highly tied into the S&P, so everything we predict about the S&P, in essence, we're predicting about the Nvidias and the various other assets that we talk about here inherently. They're all highly correlated. So if we're forecasting a downwards action on the indices, we're forecasting a downwards action in essence. This is actually very bullish. I'm not gonna lie. This is kind of bullish on the 4 hours, but all in all, you need to understand that larger time frames prevail, and in reality right now we've just gone to a period of relief right? On a larger time frame, you can see we went bullish here temporarily. So, but these processes are not straightforward and amplify themselves as they penetrate the oversold territory. More so right now we're on a downtrend. So hence you see these processes can be quite prolonged. Just to give you an idea, these processes can take just this one, not including the, actually let's include the drop. Why not? We should do it right, and let's do it right. That was about 50, you know what, I'm going to be generous, let's call it 45 days. So 45 days that you were going down. So that's not all that great. Now I would be very, very careful and understand how that stuff can come through and be unpleasant for how long. What did that indicate to us? So far, I've been pretty much on point on the projection on the overall trend and the various supports and resistances. Of course, you manage your portfolio as you wish. This is not financial advice. I'm just showing you what I see, how I perceive it, and I could be an idiot and wrong, and I'm just some dude on the internet. Don't forget that. All right. Palantir setting up for hard landing. Yes, right, Palantir. Tom, I almost forgot. Why are you not yelling at me, Palantir? Palantir is actually tremendously impressive. I mean, 35.66 on the announcement. This is very impressive. That just goes to show that a lot of people sadly do not realize that the S&P inclusion, first of all, is not certain yet, but it's probably certain. Let's call it a 95% certainty. The thing is, once this happens, if we're already getting into Palantir the same way we're getting into a firm, that they're kind of related in that regard. They're highly correlated to various companies. They are just highly affected by conditions, by the market play in general. So I'm not going to be surprised if Palantir and likewise a firm, both of them highly sort of related to the same forces, to the same let's call it just same forces in terms of liquidity in that, with that regard. I'm not going to be surprised if I will see them both correcting downwards significantly with the indices, but Palantir more so now with the S&P inclusion, right? So the S&P inclusion is actually going to hurt subsequently a lot more than it's going to help, because most people are not really executing. Most people are not traders, and even those who are trading, usually this is not enough for them to execute on. This is not enough of a swing. Sure, some will. Those are short-term Arnolds and people of the daily trading nature, right? Which is, again, it's not a curse word, it's not a bad thing. But the reality is that most people are not capable of doing this the right thing. So for most people, this is just very confusing. What we say when times are like this, DCA less, right? It's just kind of high relative to still retaining a downtrend. It doesn't help us all in all. I mean, it feels like we're going high, right? It feels like we're going higher and higher and higher, but still, all in all, it's going to retain a downtrend with the major indices. So what we ended up testing, which is very weird, we ended up testing basically creating a shoulder right there, similarly to the area. Let me just reveal all that, too messy. You see this area, right? The assumption was that we're going to have something similar, but in fact, we already broke through. Right, we just already created the levels that potentially were holding us off. We broke through, but that is not that abnormal. We need to remember the times that were abnormal here and the overall formation of the head and shoulders that we're forming here. And if we're going to look at the indicators at the end of the day, they don't change. They don't change much from what we're seeing on the major indices. Right, again, we're seeing the daily that is very bullish, but once we go weekly, that's it. This is where all the hype breaks. So what we're starting to realize that it will correct with the rest, and more so, it's already starting to be very excessive as we're edging on the edge of the channel. So one way or another, there will be a correction. Does that mean you should jump out and no, especially to the investors? It just means don't buy with both hands. We spoke about this before. In fact, during the Nvidia earnings, I think I had a 1 hour long rant about it all. So I feel like it's going to be redundant to repeat. But at the end of the day, if we're going to look at Palantir right now, just objectively, this is tremendously impressive. In fact, being so high, I'm not going to be surprised if we're actually going to test that 3604 before we actually break down, because we said we do have a little bit of more bullish momentum in the indices. So all in all, it's not going to be that surprising. I mean, we're on the right trend. Remember, don't fight the trend. The trend is your friend. Currently, the trend is to the upside. That's inarguable. But overall, Palantir does not exist in a vacuum, and more so if our suggestion is that S&P will continue breaking down. So let me just show you, right? Again, if we're expecting Palantir, firm to, oh my God, firm, Palantir, Tesla, if we're expecting S&P to break down back into this gap and more so into further gaps below this area that I tried to mark earlier, right? We cannot expect Palantir to float above. The only thing it can do is mitigate the effects, right? So now what we're seeing, by the way, on Palantir is because we're getting a little bit of bullish momentum in the indices, you're actually getting to see how the actual momentum looks on Palantir right now, because it's being permitted by the indices to actually be bullish, and the indices are not fighting against it. So this is impressive. I mean, I gotta admit, because at this point we got so far from our 3007 or 2907 range, I would kind of argue that this is inarguable that we've actually went to the higher ranges. Sure, I would totally agree with that. The problem being, it's not going to help you nor save you from the fact of the matter that the inclusion of the S&P will actually make it worse for those who like Palantir. Or you can be realistic and understand that you are not about to execute within the next following month or two anyways, and when it's going to dip, you're just going to be buying with both hands. That's what you should be doing. If you're not a day trader, if you don't have the necessary skills, nor you don't have the necessary understanding, you should not be jumping out. That's not financial advice, but that is the traditional outlook on these things. A healthy portfolio is one that has a healthy foundation, right? And if part of your plan outwards 10, 15 years, of course, every person has a different time frame and outlook, but in general, if you have the DCA method in mind, you should not be jumping in and out. You should be focusing on buying more when it's cheap. That's, again, referring back to Baron Rothschild, famous quote, buy when the blood is in the streets, even if the blood is your own. The emphasis on the second part, even if the blood is your own, tremendously important. Why? Because that's the part that people don't like to quote and kind of neglect and forget most of the time. Trying to follow the chat. I think I'm for landing reg. It's sadly, you can call it to reiterate and answer Tom's question. Sadly, yes, we can call it a difficult landing. It's going to be very unpleasant. That's to answer that. Let's continue. Chobe, I'm going to disappoint if we don't get more. Be disappointed. That's okay. I'm going to live with that, Chobe. Just lost 100% on Arnon coin. Arnon, you shouldn't have bought Arnon coin. That's the problem. Are we going to start setting Arnon? Oh my God, guys, you just went full on with that Arnon coin thing. I mean, come on. Arnon coin. Just lost 100%. Okay, scammed. Okay, see, Arnon got scammed by Arnon coin. You see, that's what happens when you buy your own coin. What do you expect to be the 2 weeks high? 55555. You know what? That's actually a wonderful question, Michaelis. You asked a wonderful question, Michael, there. So the reality is that 555 is already kind of out of the current range. It's starting to be, at least if we're going to continue with this bearish momentum that I'm expecting for tomorrow and the upcoming days. 555 from tomorrow and onwards, if I'm correct, going to be given up, at least for the short term. It's not like we're never going to see it again. Of course, we'll see it again. But it does not seem like it's going to be in the really short-term future. No, I'm not seeing that happening in the short-term future. We don't have enough momentum for it. We're probably going to scrape again that 54.87 at best and scrape it properly, test, maybe break above it, maybe even move to the very next line, which is 55.01, but 55555 a bit excessive for the time being. I'm not seeing it as being a valid point. But we see firm 3132, and where can we expect Intel AMD The Intel AMD, not much of a change unless we're actually going to have the actual breakdown. But you were asking a firm. 3817 going down. Current support is 3717, then 3573, then 3055. So what were you asking, Arnon? What level? Arnon was asking about 3132. Yeah, I mean, eventually, very soon, when we start to see that more of that bearish momentum coming through on the indices, of course, subsequently, and more pressure will come on the individual assets. We will see more pressure coming in and bringing a firm, but a firm first has to break that 37. As you see, we're already starting to post down on the short range and the long range, right? Both of them are posted down, already moving to the downside. So that's 37.17, reminding again 35.73. Those are the majors. Doesn't mean we're not gonna have any stopping points, but your very next major would be that 30.55. So to get there, you have to break that 31.32 levels that you were talking about yourself. Intel and AMD, we're going to look at that later. Right now, Intel and AMD are not that important. We really have to look at Intel and AMD. There's not much to say there. Again, we spoke about them. They're dividend stocks. They're good when it comes to have them as a good foundation or part of your good, foundation of a good portfolio. Properly managed. There are various gaps I see where on the bottom trend we're breaking down. More downwards momentum in oversold territory with some relief there. So downwards trend and the edge oversold there. No, I mean, Intel can be bought on a cheaper price. Basically, the idea here with Intel is that Intel is prepping for a more severe drop. At least that's what it appears to be in the time being. Of course, if indices will be dropping down, subsequently it will be correcting downwards as well. So approximately how much do you think Palantir will pull back and after this massive run-up? I just mentioned, I've explained that, G. I think I've answered your question as well. Mike, I hope, guys, I'm missing a lot of questions. I'm so sorry. I'm trying to not miss anything, but I'm sorry. Again, we're having very low volume today. No surprise, Arnon. Yeah, we know that. Maybe it's 1%. Yeah, they put a lot more pressure to the downside rather than to the upside, of course. Weakness typical when most bankers on holiday. When do you see AMD in the future? AMD, good future, but depends what do you mean future. Futures, can be next week, next month, year, 2 months, 10 years. You're not specific enough there. Still, the price action seems, by the way, in the time being, let's switch over back right here. Let's see what the price action has been doing. Right, we want to be looking at all that beautiful stuff. Let me clean that up a little bit. Just right there so we can see stuff a little better. Highlighter, let's remove that. Let's see what's going on. Remove that. There we go. Right, back to the video. To the chat, sorry. Still thinking about a VIX spike. VIX has to correct there. If you watch today's video, I said VIX needs to correct, and there's a gap there. You can see the gap right here. That gap needs to be closed. I wouldn't necessarily call it a spike, but on the grand scheme of things, yes, there should be a spike on the VIX that we're forecasting to close that gap, which is VIX doesn't like gaps. Those who know anything about the VIX understand VIX don't like gaps. Gaps are not a thing that the VIX likes, just to put it in simple terms. It's a little bit more convoluted than that, but this is the simplest way to put it. Yes, to Putin. Oh my god, that was a big mistake. backwards direction. By the way, shout out to all the new subscribers. I'm edging on 2,000 subscribers. All of those who are new and have not yet subscribed, make sure to subscribe, like, ring the bell, move it to everything. Otherwise, you'll not be informed when I go live and then cry to me, Greg, you didn't tell me personally. I'm not going to tell anyone personally unless you hang out with us in the Discord, and even that I don't do every day. So, yeah, make sure you like and subscribe. Mama is here. Is she? Oh, she finally is here. Mama, guys. Now you're gonna. Now the belt is gonna come out, and all of you gonna be in line. That's that. You see, guys. That's why I say she's the best, because I know when she's here, everything is gonna be in order. Right, Mama is correct. Before you leave, like, subscribe, smash the all the buttons down there. Make sure you, if you want to become a member of our community, go to the Patreon. You join our Discord. Make sure you confirm the rules, otherwise you'll be stuck in limbo. And if you want to know how to study one-on-one with me, technical analysis, DM me. I still have 3 spots. They are newly open, just opened already. 2 have been taken. I've changed things a bit. Instead of having 4, I made 5 of them, so now there are still 3 open. Once the members spots are filled, I'm gonna start taking from the public. So hurry up, otherwise you'll miss it again, and you'll be telling me how I wanted and I was planning this and that. And if you want to learn how to analyze the market using technical analysis, do proper charting on level I do, and understand the true complexity of things, not just this basic stuff that we're doing here, I highly recommend reaching out to me. We're going to have a private call. Make sure you don't DM me unless you're ready to have a voice call, right? Just make sure. We're going to have a quick call, and then if everything is fine, we're going to make a schedule and start teaching you one-on-one on the Discord, sharing screen and all that beautiful stuff. And that is it. Now, further questions? Anybody else? Anything before we continue? You were promised millions. Well, Arnon, I'm sorry. You got only billions. Arnon coin is a scam. I agree. Greg IP is patent pending. No, it's not patent pending. No, it's not. It is absolute my private genius and brilliance that if Brad will continue talk nonsense, how... No, it's all good, Brad. It's all good. Exactly. Boys and girls, like Mama just told you, you need to confirm the rules when you enter. Otherwise, you'll be stuck in limbo. You'll not see the server. You'll just see this one channel that says rules. That is meaningless. And don't forget, when you do confirm them, you switch over to some channel, so you don't think that you're still stuck in there. The channels are on your right side. In fact, let me show you exactly what I mean. Here is the Discord. That's why it's preferable to use it on the computer. You can see it a lot better. You can see the column of channels right here on the right side. If you don't see this member list, which is very important, that's how you reach out to both Tom and I, and this is how you see our profiles are rather unique. They have all these animated parts, like my eyeball is moving here and this dude is working out, and Tom's also is highly animated. That's how you find us. And if you don't have that list on your left side, your right side, sorry, you open it is by clicking this. You see you have this button of 2 little people right there, show member list. You click it and it opens it up and you can see it, right? Now, unlike the phone, it's very convenient. So what Mama was talking about is, you guys, when you join the Discord, make sure you go and confirm this button. You press this button, this button. Otherwise, you'll be like these people who don't know that the server actually exists. All they see is this one channel, okay? In fact, I can show you, but it's just going to be this one channel. So, that's how you DM me, by the way. That's it. Yeah, market closed. I didn't notice, huh? Stupid me. Market is closed. We're all done for today. Any quick questions before we adjourn for today, boys and girls? Tell them actually read the rules before. Absolutely. Ladies and gents, read the rules. We don't mess around in our community. You break the rules. It's very the way out is very quick. We don't tolerate any trolling, any nonsense. There is some messing about, and we're all humans. There are some memes and jokes and all that, but there is no intentional trolling. We recognize that we throw you on your ass out. Absolutely. Listen to what the mods are saying. They are absolutely on point. Before that, there's a smart way to use SQQ. Can you talk about this? It's very simple. You don't buy. I mean, that's the way I am doing the smart way. I would call it, right. You don't stay into it. You go into it when the time is very, very particular, right? And you do need to accumulate enough for the dividends to actually make sense over the time decay that everyone has. So that's kind of the smart way to go about it. Very simple, actually. So make the stock pay for more than it costs you. Yes, read the rules. Yes, we said that. Rules are meant to be followed. Arnon, you don't dare me, Arnon. And that's it. All right, boys and girls, it seems like we have no questions for today. It seems. What is that, threshold? You don't want to know. You don't want to know, my friend. Once you test threshold, you never come back. You don't know? There's a scary Russian waiting for you at the end of the rainbow. Threshold is very scary. Brad, what are you worried about? You study, you student, you're gonna learn everything. You're gonna know the secrets of the universe. Don't worry. All right, boys and girls, all the links are in the chat. Will be in the description below to those who will watch later. And that's it. I wish you all a wonderful night. We kind of said everything there was to say about today's market and our expectations, and let's see how tomorrow will play out. I mean, for right now, the market is still being rather tame. All in all, I understand most people are hyper focused on being somewhat upwards market today, but guys, don't forget the context is still very much downwards. Okay, so let's keep your eyes on the prize, keep your eyes on the ball. Don't lose sight of the ball, otherwise, bad stuff will happen. Arnold, what are you doing there? What are you saying? Why are you terrorizing? Arnold, stop terrorizing. Thanks for joining, people. Christoph, you're such a brother from another mother. Thank you very much. Yeah, Christoph is one of our mods on the Discord. Listen to him very carefully. He knows very well what he's talking about. Night, Chob. Good night, indeed. Well, boys and girls, thank you very much for showing up for this live. There's not much to say other than what we've already said, and I will see you on tomorrow's market open. If everything will be fine, that's what the plan is, and subsequently market close. You all have a wonderful evening, night, morning, whatever you have, wherever you're at. See you tomorrow.